galaxy just made its last mistake. Poking the human bear was one thing, but killing our young? They might as well have ripped their own throats out and saved us the trouble. Months of simmering tensions between the human race and the Galactic Council came to a head today in the legislative chambers of Teller Prime. Human emissary Noah Allen sped into the council room, fury radiating off him like reactor heat. He strode up to the speaker's podium and jammed a data chip into the console. 6 hours ago, the despicable coward you see on this footage, Counselor Galen of Teller, brutally murdered a 5-year-old human girl vacationing with her family on Risa Station. The holo projector sprang to life, showing a dimly lit maintenance passage. A hulking Tellarite stormed down the corridor, dragging a kicking and screaming child by her hair. Her cries cut off abruptly as Galen slammed her face first into a bulkhead. Once, twice, 3 times, reducing her young features to a bloody pulp. With an animalistic grunt, he tossed her broken body aside and lumbered off. Waves of horror and nausea rippled through the chamber as the footage concluded. Noah rounded on the council, his jaw clenched so tightly veins bulged in his neck. There you have it. Irrefutable proof of this despicable crime. I demand you arrest that butcher immediately and extradite him to Earth to stand trial. Teller's delegation shifted uneasily in their seats, all save Galen, who sat with arms crossed and a defiant smirk on his porcine face. Their lead counselor stood and cleared his throat. While certainly regrettable, I must remind the human delegation that the child provoked Counselor Galen with her incessant wailing. Surely this mitigates— "She was 5!" Noah erupted, slamming a fist on the podium so hard it dented. His voice quaked with murderous rage. "She cried because he abducted and beat her, and you dare defend him?" The Tellarite narrowed his eyes. The Teller delegation moves that no charges be brought against Counselor Galen for this unfortunate incident. One by one, the other council members voiced their assent. The Tellarites strong-armed the vote, and Galen walked free. Noah shook with fury. "This is an act of war. I promise you this is the last human you will ever murder." He stormed out and called an emergency meeting with Earth's leaders. They reviewed the footage of that innocent girl's brutal killing, growing more sickened and enraged with each viewing. The sheer callousness and evil of it hit President Johnson in the gut. He nearly retched. The Joint Chiefs were already drawing up battle plans. The congressional speaker pounded the table. "This cannot stand. We must respond with overwhelming force or every human in the galaxy will become fair game for alien butchers." Johnson studied the angelic face of that poor dead girl one last time, then rose grimly to his feet. "Send a final message to the council." He stepped before the wall screen and waited for the council to appear. "People of the Galactic Council, one of your own brutally murdered an innocent human child. Your failure to condemn this vicious crime is an act of war against humanity. We hereby give you 48 hours to hand over the murderer Galen to us and submit to our justice, or we will unleash the full might of humanity's military upon your worlds. There will be no further communications." The implication was clear. Hand over the child killer or burn. As a countdown appeared on the holo and news of the impending war spread, human diplomats and citizens fled council space in a mass frenzy. Noah barely escaped ahead of a Tellarite lynch mob. Earth's fleets jumped to rally points along the border, millions of human troops and thousands of warships poised to deliver retribution. The 48-hour deadline ticked down to its final seconds with no word from the council. Johnson nodded grimly at his generals. "It's time to show the galaxy what happens when you murder human children." As Noah's shuttle reached the human battleship Retribution, he couldn't help but clench his fists. The image of that innocent girl's broken body still seared in his mind. He stepped onto the bridge where Earth's top brass waited, their faces etched with barely contained fury. Admiral Hawkins stabbed a finger at the holo display showing the massed council ships. "Those alien bastards are mobilizing to hit us the moment the deadline expires. We're going to be outnumbered at least 5-1. General Mitchell shook his head grimly. "Even with our tech advantage, any war will cost millions of human lives. We need a game changer, or this will be a Pyrrhic victory at best." Noah's datapad pinged with an incoming message. His eyes widened as he read the intel. He looked up at the leaders, a plan forming. Sirs, I just received critical intel from an informant. The Council's central command relies on a communication nexus deep in their territory. If we could take it out, it would cripple their ability to coordinate forces. Admiral Hawkins frowned. And how do you propose we crack a facility that heavily fortified? Its shields could repel our strongest bombardment. Noah met his gaze steadily. With a small insertion team, we could infiltrate and disable the shields from the inside. Once they're down, the fleet can jump in and destroy it. The room fell silent as the enormity of the plan sank in. Finally, General Mitchell spoke. You're talking about a damn suicide mission, son. Even if it succeeds, we'd likely lose the entire team. And if we don't try, we could lose millions in the coming war, Noah countered. This is our best shot at victory. I volunteer to lead the mission myself. The president rubbed his chin, the weight of the decision heavy on his shoulders. You're sure your team could pull this off? Noah nodded resolutely. I'll only need our best commandos. We'll get it done or die trying. The fate of humanity hangs on this, sir. After a long moment, the president sighed. Then you have a go. Godspeed, Noah. The hopes of Earth go with you. As the meeting broke up, Noah rushed to assemble his team, the best of the best, each one hand-picked for their deadly skills. They all knew it was likely a one-way trip, but they were ready to lay down their lives for humanity. In the stealth shuttle, Noah looked over his commandos as they rocketed towards Council space and the target. Dogged perseverance radiated from each of them. They knew the stakes. The survival of their species hung on this bold strategy. Back on the Retribution's bridge, Admiral Hawkins watched the clock tick down towards the deadline. His ships were ready to translocate the instant those Nexus shields fell. It would be a short, brutal window of opportunity before the Council could respond. Everything depended on Noah's team. On the Tellarite homeworld, Counselor Galen paced in his chambers. Soon, the Council ships would sweep aside the human upstarts and cement the Council's galactic dominance. He never imagined the humans would actually be suicidal enough to challenge them over one measly child. As the final seconds of the deadline elapsed, Noah's shuttle reached the Nexus. The alarms had not been triggered. The diversion worked. Soundlessly, the human team slipped into the facility, weapons ready. They had only minutes to disable the shields before the attack. The galaxy held its breath, the fate of worlds hanging on this pivotal moment. For better or worse, the die was cast. The first shots of the war were about to be fired. The 48-hour deadline expired with deafening silence from the Galactic Council. Earth's military sprang into action, launching Operation Retribution. Noah gripped the shuttle's control yoke, his fist clenched with tension as they weaved through enemy patrols. The cloaking field held, but one wrong move could spell disaster. His team of 5 elite commandos huddled in the cramped cabin, double-checking weapons and gear. 2 minutes to landing zone, Noah called out. Remember, we hit fast and quiet. Breach the control station, disable the shields, plant the logic bombs. In and out before they know what hit them. Sergeant Chen nodded grimly. And if we encounter Galen? Noah's fists tight. Capture if possible, but the mission comes first. The shuttle touched down silently in the shadow of the massive Nexus. Noah took point, leading his team in a crouched sprint across open ground. They reached the outer perimeter undetected, using breaching charges to blow a hole in the fence. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then alarms blared, shattering the night. Floodlights snapped on, bathing the compound in harsh light. So much for stealth, Private Rodriguez muttered. Noah signaled the team forward. Move! We've got minutes before this place is swarming with guards. They sprinted for the control station, pulse rifles at the ready. A squad of Tellarite guards poured out of a nearby barracks, shouting and firing wildly. Disruptor bolts sizzled past Noah's head as he dove for cover behind a low wall. The rest of the team scattered, returning fire. The air filled with the acrid smell of ozone and burning flesh. Corporal Tanaka went down first, a disruptor blast catching him in the throat. Private Wu fell moments later, his chest a smoking ruin. Noah gritted his teeth and kept moving, leading the dwindling team towards their objective. They reached the control station's blast doors, but the Tellarites had them pinned down. Sergeant Chen tossed a plasma grenade, buying them precious seconds. Noah slapped the door controls, praying the access codes were still valid. The massive doors ground open. Noah's team poured inside, Chen and Rodriguez providing covering fire. A disruptor bolt caught Rodriguez in the back as the doors sealed shut. He crumpled, dead before he hit the ground. Noah and Chen fought their way to the central control hub, leaving a trail of Tellarite bodies in their wake. Chen took a hit to the leg but kept moving. "I'll hold them off," Chen shouted, gesturing at the shield controls. "Do it!" Noah nodded, diving for the console. His fingers flew over the alien interface, inputting the deactivation codes. Alarms wailed as the Nexus's impenetrable shields flickered and died. "Shields down," Noah yelled into his comm. "Uploading virus now." He jammed the data chip into the console, watching as the logic bomb spread through the system. Behind him, Chen's rifle fell silent. Noah spun, seeing his last teammate slumped against the wall. A wave of Tellarite guards stormed into the room, weapons raised. He grabbed Chen's fallen rifle and opened fire, backing towards the exit. Disruptor blasts seared the air around him. One caught him in the shoulder, spinning him around. Another grazed his ribs. Somehow, Noah fought his way out of the control station. Blood poured from a dozen wounds as he staggered towards the extraction point. His vision blurred, but he forced himself to stay conscious long enough to send one final transmission. "Shields down. Package delivered. For Earth." The sky lit up as Earth's invasion fleet materialized. Massive warships unleashed hellfire upon the defenseless Nexus. The entire compound vanished in nuclear fire. On the Tellarite homeworld, Counselor Galen stared at tactical displays in horror. Warning klaxons blared as human ships poured through the gap in their defenses. "Impossible," Galen whispered. "They can't have—" A subordinate rushed in, panic etched on his porcine features. "Sir, they've broken through. Our fleets are in disarray." Galen watched helplessly as humanity's vengeance swept towards him like an unstoppable tide. The Nexus fell, and Earth unleashed hell. Thousands of warships poured through the breach, weapons blazing. Tellarite defense platforms crumbled under the onslaught. Escape pods jettisoned from shattered cruisers as Earth's fleet advanced relentlessly. On a medical frigate, Noah Allen regained consciousness. His body felt like one massive bruise. A medic hovered over him, administering painkillers. "Easy there, hero. You did it." Noah tried to sit up, wincing. "The Nexus?" "Destroyed. We're pushing deep into Council space now." Weeks passed in a blur of fire and blood. The Tellarites and their allies fought with desperate fury, but Earth's vengeance was unstoppable. On the bridge of the UES Retribution, Admiral Richardson studied tactical readouts. "We've tracked Galen to a moon base in the Proxima system. Time to end this." Marine dropships streaked towards the lunar surface. Pulse cannons spat death, carving holes in the base's outer defenses. Armored troopers poured through the breaches. Inside, chaos reigned. Human and Tellarite forces clashed in twisting corridors. Disruptor bolts sizzled past Marine helmets. Return fire cut down Tellarite defenders. "Push forward!" Major Chen shouted over the din. His squad advanced methodically, clearing rooms with grenades and bursts of phaser fire. Deeper in the base, Galen barked orders to his dwindling bodyguards. "Hold them back! We must reach the command center!" The Tellarites fought savagely, but the humans pressed on. Bodies littered the halls as Richardson's forces tightened the noose. Finally, Galen and his last few protectors were cornered in the command center. Marine breaching charges blew the doors. As smoke filled the room, Galen lunged for the main console. "You'll never take me alive," he snarled, initiating the base's self-destruct sequence. Alarms blared. The entire structure shuddered as power surges racked its systems. Aboard a nearby carrier, a newly discharged Noah Allen received the updates. His fists clenched. Without a word, he commandeered a shuttle and blasted towards the disintegrating base. Noah's stolen craft wove through debris fields, dodging chunks of lunar rock and flaming wreckage. The base's superstructure groaned, fracturing apart. Warning klaxons shrieked as Noah's shuttle plowed through the command center's viewing port in a shower of crystalline shards. The craft skidded across the floor in a screech of torn metal. Noah kicked open the shuttle's hatch and leapt out, sidearm raised. His eyes locked with Galen's across the rubble-strewn room. "It's over," Noah growled. Galen's lips curled in a snarl. He raised his disruptor. "Never." The two enemies faced each other as the base crumbled around them. Fires raged unchecked. Support beams buckled. The floor trembled, seconds from total collapse. Noah's finger tightened on the trigger. Galen's eyes blazed with hatred. The moment of reckoning had arrived. The command center disintegrated around Noah and Galen. Superheated air seared Noah's lungs as he staggered forward, sidearm leveled. Galen's porcine features twisted with rage, his own weapon raised. "It ends here, murderer," Noah snarled through gritted teeth. Galen's guttural roar pierced the cacophony of alarms and crumbling metal. His disruptor flashed, the bolt sizzling past Noah's ear. But Noah's reflexes, honed by months of brutal conflict, gave him the edge. 3 rapid pulses erupted from Noah's phaser. The energy blasts slammed into Galen's torso in quick succession. The Tellarite's eyes widened in shock as he crumpled, smoke rising from his charred flesh. Noah limped towards his fallen foe, each step sending jolts of pain through his battered body. He wrenched the still-hot disruptor from Galen's limp fingers. Hate-filled eyes met Noah's gaze as the light faded from them. No triumph filled Noah's heart, only a bone-deep weariness and a bitter taste in his mouth. He activated his comm badge, his voice barely audible over the inferno raging around him. "Target neutralized. Vengeance is complete." The words had scarcely left his lips when the familiar tingle of a transporter beam enveloped him. Noah's vision blurred as he rematerialized aboard a dropship. He collapsed onto the deck, his strength finally giving out. Through the aft viewport, Noah watched the moon base vanish in a blinding flash. The shockwave rocked the dropship as they sped away. In that cataclysmic detonation, the remains of the base and Galen's corpse were vaporized. Weeks stretched into months as Earth's forces systematically dismantled what remained of the Galactic Council. Noah observed from afar as proud alien worlds were reduced to irradiated wastelands. The Tellarite homeworld, once a jewel of technological achievement, now lay in smoldering ruins. When the last pockets of alien resistance fell silent, an uneasy quiet settled over the galaxy. The mighty Galactic Council was no more, its member races humbled by humanity's retribution. On Earth, Noah found himself hailed as a hero, but the adulation rang hollow in his ears. He stood at a viewport in Earth's orbital command station, gazing out at the stars. Each point of light represented countless lives, lost, human and alien alike. Noah pressed his forehead against the cool, transparent aluminum. The weight of it all, the deaths, the destruction, the sheer scale of the conflict, pressed down on him. All of it sparked by the death of a single human child. He closed his eyes, his voice barely a whisper. Was it worth it? The stars offered no answer as humanity stepped into its new role as the dominant power in the galaxy. Noah could only wonder what further violence might erupt from the ashes of the old order.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.